And so I'll go ahead and share my screen. What I noticed this week was, can you guys see my screen here? You guys able to see?
Yes.
I did notice a couple of issues were talked about this week just over email. And if we want, we can kind of go over what was going on with these, but I'm going to share it differently. I'm sorry. Share my whole screen. I wonder if there's a way to share like my second monitor. Anyway, do it this way. So I don't know if you guys are interested or not, but we had this one here. Is Anton on the line? I'll need to pull up my.
Yeah, I can discuss that PR.
Yeah, I mean, I know
and-
it's just brief, but yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I'll just take the screen for this one.
Oh, okay, sure.
And quickly, Christina, that we also from Intel want to discuss 277 PR. I think we had
Sure.
quite a few questions last time, so want to discuss them.
I'll write it down. Sure.
Yeah, 277. I just made a comment. So in the initialization phase of PTF and PyTest, there's some querying of switch attributes in order for the test to proceed properly. For example, you want to find out how many ports are on the device, that kind of thing. And for a long time, those attributes weren't being implemented in the behavioral model libsci. And so I've added enough code to simulate or provide the right information in order to satisfy those switch attribute queries in the beginning. So I added a couple of fake ports, well, not fake ports, default ports 1 and 2, and then some other things like default VLAN ID, VRF ID, bridge, etc. So it looks like there's a duplicate line here. I better fix that. Cut and paste. So basically, I did add some attributes here, and this is in the template code that gets turned into C++, and I've just added the callback. So, and there's also a placeholder. We can add more callbacks as needed if we ever implement any more port APIs, but it's just enough to get past the test initialization. And doing this will let us fix these tests. For example, here in side thrift test here in PTF, we've got the wrong base class for the test, and this is the one we want to use, side helper simplified, which is based on the work that Intel did to allow PTF test to run on DPUs or switches. So this is just part of bringing all that into alignment. So it's a pretty modest pull request. Any questions about this? And this is a blocker for a couple of other PRs that are in the pipe. So it would be good to get these finished. And Volodymyr and Anton both helped me get this spiffed up and in shape. Although it looks like I need to delete a redundant line, I somehow got in there. So hopefully Marian will have a chance to review this because it's blocking some other things. I think it's pretty modest. So that's that one.
So I think just wonder whether this is most like a switch attribute, right? I understand. So can we have a separate file like a switch.cpp, something like that to do it, or we put into the utilities? Because I think
it was just a convenient place because the way all the code generation is done, and there were some existing Python scripts that run all these templates through and then put it in the right place to build. And so this place has been collecting some code over time. I suppose it could be, but it probably need to get a little bit of help from Marian to reorganize some of this, or else it would take a little more retrofitting. So we could. It's a good point. Right now, all of the code that's generated for libsci is done in a kind of a consistent way. and maybe over time it needs some maintenance. Let's see if I can find it here. So the way it works is all this code is run through some Jinja templates, and then it sticks it into another directory, which is not shown here because it's done only at build time. It'd be a lib directory that then is compiled into libsci. And so rather than try to restructure all this, I've just been adding code to this template file. But maybe if the template file gets larger, eventually we want to put it somewhere else, break it up.
Chris, is this related to VolodmyrX issue or something that he had opened earlier related to the support in BMV2? Just want to.
Yeah.
Voldemar.
Let's go back to.
Yeah, so there is a few issues that probably opened, and this is
One here.
one related issue, right? And pull request that actually Chris helped to add support into the BMV2.
Okay.
So this is a great addition, I guess. And yeah, I think we need to review as soon as possible and merge it. So thanks, Chris, for that.
Yeah, go on. Would it be okay if I just, let's say, created an issue to refactor this in the future? Separate file.
Do we have Marian on the call?
He just looks like he just joined.
He just joined.
Oh, he just joined, or?
Just
Yeah.
now, yeah. Just
Oh.
a second when you said that.
You materialized him into existence.
Yeah, you did. Hey,
So-
Marian, you joined just as we had a question for you.
Hi, yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Marian. So we're looking at this PR here, which we were hoping to get your review on soon. And the only question that really, I'm not sure. I'll have to ask this question. So the main question is, in this utils, we've put a lot of code in here. That's just sort of collecting for the fake libsci callbacks, like, getting certain switch attributes. And Gohan was asking maybe this should be in its own file and not in this utils file. Do you have any opinion on that?
Can be a separate file. I don't really mind.
Yeah. Let me take I guess I'm trying to think. I would need to modify the code generator Python script that runs these. Is that correct? Because it has kind of some hard-coded list of files to process. Or
Yeah,
is
but
it-
if it's completely handwritten, this file, you don't need to run it through the code generator. It's not a template.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There might be there are some templates in there.
Then you need to add to
Like
the list
this.
of files.
Right. Yeah. So it's still templatized,
Okay.
but it can be in a switch, I guess. Let me see if I can refactor this and break the file out. So okay, thanks for the feedback, Gohan. It's been on my mind for 3 months or so too. So I guess I need to push over the edge. I'll try to do that shortly so that we can get this approved quickly. Marian, do you think you could take a look at this and provide any feedback other than the file splitting? Because this is blocking a couple of others. All right, thank you. Good. Okay, that was productive.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, since you're presenting, can you just go to 233 for Anton?
Yeah. 233 or 277?
Anton, did you want to do 233 that I saw come through email, or or the other one?
So
233.
277 there is.
That one
and
first? Okay.
Bam.
Yeah, no, Christina, VolodmyrX will be presenting 277 because he has a few things to show. So
Yeah,
he can
go for it. You can take the
Go for it.
screen.
If you're okay.
Okay.
Thanks. So briefly to talk about this PR, right? I think Anton has done a lot of work to take the test cases from different places and actually merge them all into one new directory for test cases alone. And that will really help with the usage in the CI/CD as and when we add new test cases and they reside in this folder. So it's more standard in terms of the location, but also very much easier to integrate into the CI/CD. So and another thing that we will talk about after this is that the auto-generated test framework changes for Dash, as well as the new test cases for Dash and the HLD related to that, right? The high-level design has been merged into SI. I think I mentioned it last week or so. We want to be able to use SI in the Dash and the Dash CI/CD as well. Because we have already merged that code, it's available as part of the latest SI. But there was one hindering issue there, which was some VXLAN processing wasn't correct in the PTF in general. So we have made a pull request into the P4LAN PTF, and that has been approved. And we are going to be merging that soon. VolodmyrX will be merging that soon once the CLA something with ONF is sorted out, which is in progress right now. So so with 277, it's basically to standardize the location, but in the process, a lot of work was done to actually take the test cases from different places to put it in this folder. So VolodmyrX and Anton, if you like to take over. I don't know who's presenting. Are you presenting?
I'm presenting now, but anyone's
Oh,
welcome to take over.
Okay, VolodmyrX. I don't know.
Anton,
You or
yes.
Anton want to?
Anton, you will be able to present?
Yeah, I can. By the way, 1 second, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually there is not much change. The main difference from the previous time is actually that I've made the fixes to the last comments. I renamed experimental to sanity. And also I created that subfolder PTF, which is to make it easier to understand actually what kind of test cases you can find there. So that's actually all updates, and I hope that we covered all like question comments. By the way, so that's also was some confusing because I wrote that I merged those two test cases into the single one, so it's not deleted tests. It's actually this is SI PTF test cases that I moved to the sanity test. So that's two deleted and one added. It's the same test cases. So I put them sanity, and those are something that were already in the functional folder. So please take a look, and if you do not have any major comments, I would like to verify that CI working, that actually to resolve the issue with the verification. And we can like then merge it, because I see that there is also ACL test cases that are waiting in the PR, and I would like to have all of them in the standard location.
So are we looking to merge by this Friday?
If Chris can help with solving that checks issue, yes, sure. So
Anton
that's
or VolodmyrX, would you like to briefly describe the changes that you had to make in the Docker files, etc.? I think a lot of changes went in there. I think some description would be helpful for the team.
Yeah, so Anton mostly covered this, but I can just add about the changing into the Docker files. Yeah, so Chris, Gohan, I think we need to clarify and understand here how we can proceed with this pull request, because at this moment it's still marked as a draft, but how the changes into the Docker files should go into the main branch. Should we merge SAS, or we should define or create the procedure how Docker files first can be modified, I know, merge to separate branch to verify the CI works, then merge it to the main. So what is the procedure to modify the Docker files, and how we should proceed with this?
Have you read
pull request?
the README dash Docker files? Or
No, I saw that we discussed this last time, right? So this side shift client, right? So we should build it and do not try to download from the ACR, right? So and then use that build artifact to run the test.
Yeah, so we by the way, we tested, we verified that those changes works, but can we merge these changes into the main, so someone then will take and build the Docker container and upload to the CI infrastructure manual? Or who should take care of this?
Okay, this is kind of a two-part answer. The short version and then the long version. The short version is if you want to change the Docker file, I can make a branch in the dash repo that you can merge to as a staging branch. And then once that's accepted and it's just a staging branch, I can accept it. It will publish as an intermediate step. And then once it's published, it can be merged to main because then the file will be there, be pulled. Then that's documented. That process is documented. And I mentioned this a few times. I'm not sure if people have had a chance to review this. Now, the longer answer, which Gohan alluded to and we talked about last week, is to restructure some of these build procedures to conditionally build images as needed and only pull them if they're available, otherwise build them. That's a bit of logic. That's going to be a longer term project. It's not something just to do in a short period. I'm a little hesitant to try to build everything always on demand because it's very time consuming and we have to be selective about it. So if we just start building all the images every time we need them in a makefile, excuse me, it's going to increase the runtime for everybody, both in their personal builds as well as CI. So I think we need to proceed a little bit stepwise here. And right now we have a procedure that works, but it may not be perfect. But perfect's the enemy of done. So to circle back, Volodymyr, if I make a staging branch for you, you could merge this to that, or you can do a PR to that, and then we can upload that.
Quick question is, I mean, it's should be like a regular PR merge, right? Why do we need a staging branch and all those things for this one?
There's no way to publish to ACR from a fork. So if we do it, we won't have any confirmation that this is going to build in CI until we put the main, and at that time may be broken. So we want a staging branch. The staging branch will accomplish the publishing, and then the remainder of the workflow can proceed. If we just push this as is, if you just do a PR like this, you can't actually publish. It fails because you don't have credentials from a fork. And like I said, this link I pasted in the chat explains this whole publishing phenomena and the issues concerned. And the current workflow and solution may not be perfect, but it works. And a better one would be to have much more logic in there that looks for images. If they're not published, build them on demand conditionally. And that takes effort, right? It's build engineer work.
So it looks looks like we need to put something in the backlog to improve the CI, right? To do this stuff automatically in case of such changes that we did. So at this moment, as I understand, so we can create you can create the branch, we can rebase the changes based on that branch. We can remove mark as a draft, right? Mm-hmm. And we can merge it if everything is well. So you manually will update the Docker images, right? And then we can merge into the main.
It's not exactly manually what happens. If you accept into the staging branch, the CI will do it.
Okay, or CI will do it. That's fine. Okay, I just want to understand what is the procedure to produce.
Yeah, as far as like the right way, the long-term way, I actually would rather not be the person owning that whole project. I'd rather someone who, let's say, is plugged into the whole SONiC way of doing things gets involved and provides some advice, or actually, the talent to do it in the way that's aligned with the full SONiC build process, because it's time consuming build engineer type of work, and it can be pretty involved, and I don't necessarily want to be constantly in the loop of that. So I have no qualms about someone redoing this the right way, but just want to put that out there.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anyone wants to do incremental changes, I'd be happy to participate.
Okay, so as a conclusion, for now, we will have a staging branch and we will solve that issue. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, I need to change the tag for the image for the Docker file as well to have a different version.
Yes.
So can this how about can this this Docker file change be a separate PR? So we can just create it and then merge this PR, and then and then once it's merged, it will be built and upload, and then we can test all these test PR, right? Is that doable?
It is.
Can we?
What's the value of that? Why would we want to do that?
Oh, then you don't have to create save some of efforts from. You don't have to create that staging branch, right? So we just merge this Docker file, then upload, and then the rest of the code can be tested.
The problem is the tags that define which Docker file version is being used define not only the Docker file build, but the ones that are run in the make file to do the CI. They're not separated, and that's probably another area of improvement. So if you update the tag, it's also the tag that says which Docker file to pull to run CI. If you change a Docker file, it's going to rerun CI, because just building and making Docker files aren't decoupled from the overall test process. That's not stated very well, but there's an environment variable file that tells which image is being used for a particular Docker file. And that environment variable is used not only to build a Docker, but also to use it in a CI run. So if you can't just change, one thing at a time.
Yeah, and it means that the test will fail because infra is not ready for working with the new
finish with that,
file.
I'd like to give the brief update.
With that one, yes. So I have two more issues. You want Voldemar to switch to another topic?
Yeah, if you're done with this one, I can just give a brief update on another topic, so I can share the screen for a few minutes. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so last time we also discussed about the using why we don't use the official SCI repo in the dash. So we proceed a little bit with that. So we created one change in the official PTF repo, p4lang, that fixes one of the issue that we found with the VXLAN packets. So it has been already accepted, but still not merged. So when it is merged, looks like we can try to proceed with the moving dash submodule and SCI submodule into the official one. But here I see two ways. One is that we still will need to propose updating the PTF inside the SCI repo, official repo, to move to the newer and latest version of the PTF. And another way is to use or update the PTF submodule inside the dash CI or inside the dash. So yeah, so we still wait for the pull request merge. Once it is merged, so we can then decide. We will definitely create another pull request for the SCI repo with updated version of the PTF. So then we can decide if it can go there or not. But the conclusion is that we finally can proceed with moving to the official repos anyway.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's it from my side. If there is no question on that, we can move on.
Volodymyr, do you have a guess or a guesstimate of how long this process will take as far as going through all the reviews and merges of the other
Yeah, so the PDF changes are already approved. Yeah, looks like it had been approved
right?
just 15 minutes ago. So yeah, we just need to wait for the merge. And once it is in the PDF, so we can then create a pull request for the SCI repo, right? To update the PDF, but I'm not sure if how fast this pull request will go in the SCI repo, because currently the SCI repo uses some specific version of the PDF.
We can discuss it briefly in the cycle next week or so. So after that, it might take a couple of days. So it will be.
That should be fine, right? So this is not changing the side header API. This is just
just a tool.
that should be quick. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then once it is merged in the side, then this is the actually right way. So we can easily update the dash repo also with the official SCI repo.
That'll be good.
Okay. I'm done. So if you have next topics, please proceed.
Did we want to talk about showing 233 to Marian, just in case it wasn't seen, Anton?
Yeah, I
Let's
would
do
like.
that. Just briefly.
Okay, I can, then I will share my screen.
You
So
wanna
like,
share? Okay.
yeah, so that's the case with inbound routing scale, but actually, so that was a question whether it's ternary or something else in match field. And I also commented that in fact, it doesn't work either way. And I provided actually a link to the some repository where I created draft test cases to reproduce the issue with inbound scenario with that error with invalid match type. So I would like that Mariam take a look at it, take a look at the test case and the BMV2 model, because I see that test may pass with some modification if we will revert this PR. So like in some place we have a bug. So Mariam, please take a look and give your feedback whether this is an issue in the BMV2 in the match type for inbound routing or it's something else.
Yeah, I'm aware of this issue. It's actually because BMV2 doesn't support yet the match types defined by Dash, which are list and range list. So there is a limitation currently.
Okay, so like then it would be like my question whether we can in some ways then to verify inbound routing. So because it's yet again, so we back to the discussion that BMV2 should be kind of a standard model that we should take a look at, but like if we cannot run.
Inbound routing, it's ACL. This match type is in the ACL rule.
Probably I didn't get, so like so can could you please explain a little bit? So that's
Yeah, so the error you see when you load the pipeline, it's related to the ACL rule, invalid match type. You can change it temporarily. There is, by the way, a define that makes it compliant with the current capabilities of BMV2, which will use the forgot optional match type. So you can change to that and temporarily use that. But otherwise, we would need to implement somehow the list match types.
okay. So if I understand correct, so some change in some code of my test case, I should be able to work around that part on the BM2.
Yeah, so try changing the mesh. There is a define in ACL file -acl.p. There is a define that uses native to BMV2 mesh types. It will provide a limited functionality for the ACL, but you can run inbound or outbound testing, whichever.
Okay, okay, so I will take a look, then if I have still any question, I will contact you like directly to get. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so that's it for that issue then.
Okay, great. Um,
And one moment, I opened another one issue. So because I wanted to just clarify, because we have some requirement in the HLD about the deletion. So, and I would like to understand whether maybe I misunderstand this requirement or what we really expect is that if we are deleting some ENI delete, so do we expect that all mappings mapped to that ENI also will be deleted, or we should have status object in use, because we have 11 and 13 requirements that are kind of conflicting in my opinion.
Which level are you talking about? SONiC?
It's
SI level.
So SI object model does not allow you to delete object that or entry. Object that has references to it. You cannot delete that object ID. That's the expectation from SI.
So it looks like they suggest the documentation needs to be updated and fixed.
So
Right?
if ENI is deleted, then the corresponding mappings of the routes are only related to that ENI should be deleted, right?
No, actually,
other-
Reshma, ENI, the mapping is associated to VNet, so that's not dependent on the ENI, but
Okay.
the SWSS implementation will make sure that all the route tables and associated associations are removed before ENI is deleted.
But I think the question isn't about SWSS. The question is about SI. So that's why.
So my point is, there is already a check in the SWSS, but in case if it fails or if there is a bug that pass on to SI, of course the SI can return object in use. Yeah, I agree with Marian.
So it keeps trying, and then the object is in use is the response, and when there is no such a thing as object in use, then it'll get deleted when the ENI is deleted.
Yeah.
Okay.
The same with VNet. So all the mappings has to be deleted before VNet delete.
Okay, thank you so much. I will check those. The only maybe some that's minor stuff is that there is also 12 that means that we can delete twice. That should not be any error, but like BMV2 actually returns error on the second delete. But let me verify it. If this issue really like is present, I will open a separate box. So that's one is okay. So thank you.
That's great. Thanks for helping with that. Awesome. I can share my screen. This is really all that I have left. Can you guys see?
Chris, where is the tag you mentioned? I couldn't find, mention like Docker tag. Where is the tag? You can give me a URL. I can check. What is that tag?
Sure, hang on. It's in the Docker files. There's a bunch of env files under -pipeline Docker files. I'll see if I can
Anton, it is the Anton's change, right? The Docker files, the new directory. Yeah.
see the env.
Oh, this env, that is so for every like a Docker file changes, we'll update the env, so we will have a new tag, so we know which to pull. Is that?
Yeah, go ahead and click on one. You'll see it's just a short file.
I see. No, I think the env. So I think it's
Not-
maybe the second file, right? So yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's not.
see.
Look in one of the env files. You'll see. Hi, Grant. Okay, now that's used as the tag to build the image. It's also used as the tag to pull the image in the subsequent make files. So they're tied together. Now, another possibility, which I thought about, but I didn't want to overcomplicate this, is to have separate env files for forcing a build and publish versus doing the whole CI. But
So
it still
this,
becomes manual.
yeah, this tag, is that the date?
For now, it is, yes.
Okay, so we actually can, use the MD5 checksum, right? So whatever mechanism can use. So can, for example, we can, based on the Docker file, calculate the checksum of that Docker file and put that as a tag, right? So this can be added by the build system, so you don't have to update this tag automatically.
But that's like I said, there's probably a lot of ways to do this. If you want it totally aligned with like the SONiC way, appreciate if we get a resource to help on this and kind of take it over, because it becomes kind of a full half-time job. Right now it's working. Maybe it's not perfect, but I don't want to make a career out of maintaining this personally. So if someone wants to get some help on this, it would be great.
Trying to remember who helped us with ACR from the SONiC team. It was it Zui Meow Gohan? That's who we worked with.
Yeah, I
You
think
know
they,
him
yeah,
or
no,
her?
yeah, this is a GitHub flow. So we were using Azure pipeline. So this one,
That's another task too, is moving to Azure build runners, which we got some account created to do that many months ago.
Yeah, in July.
Yeah, but that's another project too.
Mhm.
so the
these are
GitHub
really,
workflow is mainly pull, but when you pull, where do you specify the tag? I
In
mean,
that env file.
ENV file.
In the
okay.
file we just looked at. So to describe it simply, this env file, so any given snapshot of the dash repo specifies not only the Docker files as they're built and potentially published, but also as they're consumed. So it's an intact thing. Everything's defined in this one file. So there's never any ambiguity. Everything's synchronized. That's one thing I was striving for. It's simple. It's not.
But who is loading this env file?
That's hand built. If tomorrow I change a Docker file recipe, I will bump this date code to say that's the image as it looks today at that point in time.
No, I get that, but in the build system, who is loading this env file? Is that automatically loaded by the Docker? When
It's imported in the main. No, it's in the main make file. Maybe I should share my screen because.
Oh, main make file. I see.
Yeah,
I see.
I'll show you. Let me.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
It's not fair to have Christina be trying to read my mind.
That's okay.
Yeah, let me. I'll show you. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. The make file include this. Okay.
And so I'm about to share my screen. So here's the main dash pipeline make file. So it includes the images here, right? And then it defines this tag. So for example, if we want to find out how that tag is used, Docker BMD2 builder image. Oh, that's not what I want. We find SciThrift. Okay, here's an example. I can learn to use these tools. Okay, so to build this Docker image, it's going to tag it with this tag here, which was included from that environment file. So, like I said, any given snapshot of the dash repo, you can tell which Docker file is used to build something. You can tell which tag it is, and you can see how it's being consumed and published. They're all synchronized, so there's no ambiguity. And there's a tag that's hand generated that's a date code is one way. A SHA-256 is another. I kind of like the date code approach because I know kind of the order in which things were created, but it's arbitrary. It was just the way I started doing it for convenience. And I think the main improvement that would be needed would be on-demand building. So if it cannot pull it from a repo, it will build it in place rather than fail. Part of the reason.
Yeah, so I saw this Docker pool, right? So the side script, is that used in the GitHub workflow when you try to pull, or how do we?
Yes.
How do we?
Yes. So it is pulled.
Oh, I see. Okay, so in the GitHub workflow, we have a
pull. Yeah,
okay.
and to understand how all this developed, right? Here's an example. Cyclic. See, we pull the Docker images, one at a time as we need them, because that speeds up the CI pipeline run to a few minutes. If you go back to last summer, some of these build workflows were taking over an hour. And so I spent a considerable amount of time optimizing into 6 or 8 Docker images that are base images and the minimum amount of rebuilding of only the deltas and pulling whenever possible. And it turned an hour plus into the original change, like 3 minutes. And it changed the Docker files from 12 gig down to a gig a piece, something like that. So there's a significant amount of optimization that was done to improve the user experience. That's why I don't like to build unnecessarily. Only when the Docker
okay,
file.
so I think we can agree on the approach, right? So for example, we do the MD5 checksum of the Docker file and use that as a tag. So every time we try to build, we try to pull that tag from the ACR. If it is there, then we'll pull it, right? So if it's not there, then we'll build it, right? So in this case, in the PR build, because it didn't upload, so there's no such tag, then you will build it, right? So once you build it, then we can run it, right? So we don't have to always trying to pull. I mean, we'll try to pull, but if it doesn't exist, then we'll revert back to the build, right? So and then in the normal, I mean, if you didn't really change the Docker file, then the MD5 checksum will be the same, so you can pull it, and you don't have to build, right? So then this will work for both PR and the CI, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think it can be shortened to we'll build on demand when necessary. But I wanted to just find out why you think using the checksum is better than using the date code. Just curious about your opinion on that because they're arbitrary tags.
No, because date code you cannot really you can because basically you want to detect some change, right? So you cannot really use a date code. Where do you get the date? I mean, the file generation date time, that's not reliable, right? So
Oh, you're saying you want like assurance that the file contents are correct, not just the tag.
I mean, that's a purpose, right? So every time you change a Docker file, you want to rebuild, right? But then how do you know that the Docker file has been changed? I mean, using the MD5 checksum, you cannot really do date code. Date code is not reliable.
Yeah, you want to assure, you want it to use not just as a tag, but also as assurance of the contents. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That can be done. If, like I said, we should post this as a work item, a backlog. But I think to overhaul this whole thing will be significant project.
Okay, so we do have an overall dash project where we can put it in the backlog. So Chris, I can work with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can create a issue and assign to me, right? So or find
Mhm.
someone. Yeah. So
That would be
Okay.
awesome. That would be
Well,
awesome.
Thanks, Gohan.
Trying to
Thank you.
inject some SONiC DNA into this would be a good thing to get us there, closer to
Excellent.
alignment.
Okay. Great. So guys, I have a 10 o'clock I absolutely have to make. Is there anything else we need to go over today? Anything burning? I'm so quiet.
I think we
don't-
covered a lot of good stuff.
I
This was
think we
productive.
covered a lot of good ground today. I don't see any new people on the call, so I really don't have any introductions or anyone new to say hello to. So that's good. I can give 11 minutes back if you'd like to have it and talk to you next week if that's okay.
Yeah.
That work for you guys? Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for your time.
Yep.
And go get extra coffee or wherever you're at in your day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christina. Thanks for all the
Okay.
feedback, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Have a good one, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.